Okay, sheepherd, I assure you that Law and Order referencing intro does in fact have something to do with the subject of today's video. Today, we're going to be talking about what I personally consider to be the top 10 scariest crime PSAs. Now, what I define as crime is basically, well, self-explanatory. If the PSA, his crime, is not defined by anything else, it will probably show up on this list. Domestic violence and child abuse and SA PSAs will be excluded from this list, as I feel as though they deserve a list of their own. And I've already done a video on domestic violence PSAs, which happens to be my most viewed video. So I don't see any point in talking about those PSAs here. Without any further ado, let's get right into the countdown.
You work in a bank, maybe a small business, and you're held up by an armed robber. Cooperate. But remember, you are armed too. Your eyes. Use them to record his physical appearance, especially marks and scars, his clothing, the type of weapon used, the direction of escape, the getaway car, and its license number. Remember, they can rob you, but they can't rob you blind.
Alright, classic Canadian PSA from 1981. I personally wouldn't think this PSA is all that scary if it weren't for the fact that it focuses on this woman's almost dead appearing eyes. Just the narration of it all just gives me the chills. In fact, it was one of the first Canadian PSAs I remember finding on my search for the scariest PSAs, and, well, it still holds up. Though I do have one nitpick with this PSA, that being, the robber could easily just gouge out your eyes, or, be counting on the fact that you're gonna be scared, you're gonna be so scared shitless that it's not gonna matter what they look like, because you're not gonna remember.
There are many Izinyoka among us these days. Izinyoka that steal cables, cutting the power supply. Izinyoka that make illegal connections. Selling stolen cables. They are everywhere. So help ESCOM put these Izinyoka where they deserve to be. In a hole. Don't take the law into your own hands. Call the ESCOM crime line. Confidentiality guaranteed.
Alright, it appears South Africa kind of stole the whole snake criminal from America, which we did back in the 90s, but I like how this PSA talks partly in Zulu, because I looked it up and Izinyoka is Zulu for snakes. It's like South Africa speaks a lot of different languages, English being the most predominant, but this PSA is part Zulu and English, and I think that's actually quite cool. Now, I've got a friend from South Africa who is who probably wouldn't remember seeing this PSA, but I think he'd find it interesting because you don't really see that many PSAs on the subject of stealing copper wiring. Like, and the fact that the Izinyoka or snake people look like these sort of demonic entities, I just might draw them one day. Just because of how fucking cool they look. What makes this PSA scary is the fact that these Izinyoka steal from the dying and also are willing to put kids in danger just to make some money. Cause like that kid's gonna be fried if they have tires on that bike, that kid would be fried. Fried. That kid would be deep fried more than any American dish. So, we have this PSA from Colombia, which is about not buying stolen mobile phones, which, to be honest, I don't understand the appeal of buying one of those anyway, because, like, I don't know, the fact that it's fucking stolen property, but apparently this was a big enough problem in Colombia that not just one, but two PSAs were made on this subject. And, well, I would say out of the two that are in this countdown, this one is the tamer one, because I just can't really take the blood pouring out of the phones seriously because of the lighthearted, typical mobile phone ad music you see you hear in this PSA. See, goddamn. Don't do LSD, kids. Not that I've ever done it, but you'll probably be seeing music just like I am if you try that stuff. Alright, but anyways, it's a pretty solid PSA, and to be honest, I think this is one of the few times I've ever talked about a non-English speaking PSA on this channel. Well, I could talk about more Spanish PSAs like this one, because this one was basically saying carrying around a stolen mobile phone is like carrying a dead person. Don't do it. Yeah. Like I said, though, this is the tamer PSA out of this campaign by the Ministry of Telecommunications in Colombia.
When you work in the service industry, you see a lot of homes in all sorts of areas. Meet a lot of people and even pets. Out here, you have to take your job seriously and always be on the lookout to find better ways to safeguard the people you serve.
What kind of shop are you guys got going here?
Tool and die shop.
Great. Welcome to the neighborhood.
Thanks.
Or the products that protect their homes, or services to get their homes running just right. You work hard every day because you don't want to miss a thing.
like you just did.
Do I have your attention?
Workers who are in people's homes on a day-to-day basis are a critical part of identifying potential cases of human trafficking and combating this horrific crime. When you know what to look for, you can help bring an end to human trafficking.
As service workers, you play an important role in the detection of human trafficking. You are on the front lines, in homes and in neighborhoods. Now that you know some of the signs to look for, you can help save those who are being victimized. Together, we can make a difference. If you identify someone you think may need help, please contact the National Human Trafficking Resource Center at 888-373-7888. This is a toll-free hotline that's available to answer calls from anywhere in the country, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, and all calls are confidential. On behalf of the Michigan State Police, thank you for your help in keeping our communities safe.
Okay, I believe I've stated this before, but I think state PSAs are pretty underrated, and this one was actually a pretty freaky example. Now, it uses something I like to call the Evan premise. It starts out as being supposed to focus on a wholesome story, but then it immediately shows you something awful was going on in the background the whole time. In this case, as these service workers were doing their jobs, human trafficking was going on around them. The most obvious example out of all of these, even when it wasn't emphasized, was the white van. And because, that's something we all associate with kidnapping. But even so, I really like this premise for a PSA. And although I try not to include longer PSAs in my rankings because, well, I fucking barely have the time. Well, I have the time, but not the patience to watch them because, ADHD go brrr. But aside from that, there are some PSAs that I personally do think are worth the extended time, and this one was one of them, especially because it's a state police PSA. The fact that a state PSA managed to end up on the TV tropes nightmare fuel for crime prevention PSAs, it speaks volumes about the quality of this PSA, to be honest. Because normally, you only find some of the most quality nightmare fuel PSAs from TV tropes. And yes, I use TV tropes to find PSAs. Don't judge me. Because this one is because you find some really good ones you wouldn't find anywhere else. That being said, solid PSA, especially considering state PSAs tend to be rather shoddy. And there's only a select few that I'd actually consider good.
Aló, aló. Aló, aló.
This is the second PSA from the carrying a stolen mobile phone is like carrying a dead person PSA campaign that we showed an ad from before. This one I personally believe to be the scarier version of it because even though it should be cheesy as all hell, those screams still scare the fuck out of me. Like I could make all the getting called from a stolen cell phone at 3 a.m. Gone wrong jokes, and it would still make this PSA scary. Because just because of that scream and the lighting of it all. All light. Getting woken up by a phone call is fucking scary in my opinion. Especially if you don't know who the fuck is calling you. Yeah. But honestly, if I wasn't already put off from the idea of buying a stolen mobile phone, this PSA would have done the trick. Like, it's actually fucking scary, this one, just because of that fucking scream. And it's implied this is just a nightmare this woman is having. I feel bad for her, to be honest.
Let me tell you who to blame. Blame the boy lying at your feet, his body oozing life through the hole in his stomach where the bullet tore him apart. Blame him for challenging you, for not looking away and for not backing down when you pulled out the gun. Blame your mother for bringing you into this world when she was but a kid herself and for dragging you up, not bringing you up. Blame society for not giving you hope. Blame your father for not being there, the man who looked after himself instead of looking after you. Blame the gun in your hand for making you a target, for making you more likely to be picked on. Blame the dead boy, blame your mother, blame society, blame your father, blame the gun, blame anyone but yourself for not being strong enough to put down the gun, to break the cycle.
I've already talked about how this PSA is my personal favorite, and well, it's my favorite PSA of all time. There are PSAs scarier than it. However, I do personally consider this to be the most effective PSA of all time. Just because of how angry Samuel L. Jackson seems to be. He seems angry that the urban youth of Britain are blaming anybody but themselves for not being able to just put down the gun and break the cycle of wanton violence that plagues so many urban youths. I've gushed about this PSA before, but it's an excuse to do it again, so of course I put it in here. And honestly, what I love about this PSA so much is it actually encourages accountability. Yes, it acknowledges the troublesome circumstances most urban youth have, but it doesn't use them as an excuse for the urban youth to do these horrible things. That's what I love so much about this PSA, and that's what I personally believe makes it so goddamn effective.
Hush, little baby, don't say a word. Mama's gonna buy you a mockingbird.
Last year, thousands of innocent children were caught in the crossfire of violent crime. And it's not just the children who suffer.
Mama's gonna buy you a
How much longer will you let this go on? Call this number now. We'll send you information on how you can protect your children from crime and drugs in your neighborhood. Together, we will take a bite out of crime.
So, this PSA is probably one of the saddest American PSAs, and it's not the only 90s American PSA that will be on this list. Just everything about this PSA is so somber. From the mother desperately clinging on to the hope that her son isn't dead, he's just sleeping, hence why she's singing Hush Little Baby to him, to the father breaking down as the policeman comforts her, to the funeral. It's just so sad, yet the narration takes a bit of the sting out of it by saying, if we work together, hopefully no more innocent children will die in this way, but unfortunately, given current trends in America, that's not the case. And I feel like these PSAs should be run more often on TV these days because of this exact reason. There is so much goddamn crime that captures innocent children in the crossfire. And considering that I myself was a kid not too long ago, I'm 18 turning 19, this PSA just really hits close to home knowing that could be my kid I'm holding dead. And I don't even plan on having kids at this moment.
Bags of cement everywhere. It's a real mess. But the surveyor came round on Saturday, so hopefully something will start moving.
Fingers crossed.
Start time 09:15 hours. Gunshot wound to right side of chest, 0.9 centimetres diameter. Photograph of that, please.
Service is so expensive. My cousin had subsidence. Cost her a fortune.
Bruising to right wrist, consistent with witness reports that deceased firearm was turned against him.
No, he's not until Monday. Don't they ever bother to check the voters?
Rib shears. Projectile has passed through underlying pectoralis muscle before shattering right fifth rib.
Right line, 420 grams.
Okay, so this PSA is one you don't see talked about nearly as much as you should. Like, Slab is a PSA that gets a lot of love from the community. You see it in more than a few compilations. But I don't think I've ever really heard anybody talk about it. Personally, I think Britain just pulled no punches in 2011 when it came to the anti-crime PSAs. To be honest, they never have, because well, it's not really something you can fuck around with. But even though we see this guy getting cut open off screen, we see him shake as his body is cut open so the bullet can be removed and so he can be autopsied. The male doctor seems to be very serious, but we see the other doctor, taking phone calls, adding to the tagline respect. You don't get it with a gun. The only seriousness we really see is with the male doctor saying how this young man died, which was a gunshot wound to the chest as his own gun was turned on him. It's an incredibly effective PSA, and one I believe really should be talked about more than it is. Yeah. Not much to really say about this PSA that you can't really see, but still, it's effective nonetheless.
Okay. Hi, you alright?
Bye, yacht.
What's up?
Hello.
Hi.
Oh man, where's my fish fingers? No.
Coming to pick up the kids from school tomorrow.
Yeah, if you don't mind.
No blood, that Raven still was big, I like.
I know, it was serious.
Big one.
I bet you any money, Anton flopped the show.
He always flops, man. He always does the end.
Doesn't matter what the occasion, birthday, christenings, my man always finds a way
I'll
to
tell you
flop the
something
show.
though, it was a good thing you man never come because it was a big hype thing going about last night.
See, that's why I like having younger brothers and sisters. I stay indoors while the beef stays outside.
Come on, you knew this one would be on here. It's the infamous UK PSA in which a mother shoots her young son in the head. Yeah, the metaphor is kind of off, but I can absolutely agree with the message. Gun crime is really not something you should keep quiet about. Because, well, you may not be pulling the trigger, but you might as well be letting the actual shooters, pull the trigger on your own son. This PSA is absolutely crazy. And I get it. It's been talked about to death. Almost every PSA reviewer I have ever watched has covered this PSA in some way. Hell, I still remember Back to the Past's Team Fortress 2 reference. The boom headshot. But I still think this PSA is effective, even though it's been memed on so many times for its infamy within the PSA community. You all knew I would come through, but as scary as this PSA is, there is one scarier. And without any further ado, let's get to this one.
Where have all the children gone? Long time passing.
Where have all the children gone? Long time ago.
Where have all the children gone? Gone to graveyards one by one.
Oh, when will we ever learn?
Oh, when will we ever learn?
Every day, 10 children are killed by gunfire. The killing won't stop unless you help stop it. Call 1-800-WE-PREVENT to find out what you can do. Not one more lost life, not one more grieving family, not one more.
Oh, when will we ever learn?
personally always found PSAs that use real footage to be all the more scary. And that is why this PSA takes the place for the scariest anti-crime PSA of all time. Because we see actual photos and videos of children that were killed by high gun violence, and it's honestly just depressing. And the song Where Have All the Children Gone doesn't make this PSA any easier to watch. Honestly, I think this is the one PSA that involves crime that is scarier than Sunday Lunch, and that's just because all of this is real. Like, that shot of the police officer trying to comfort a mother is just absolutely heartbreaking. And I don't think any anti-crime PSA is better or scarier than this one. Like, the 90s were America's heyday for some of its scariest PSAs. Let's not even deny that. But with that being said, ladies, gentlemen, and fellow non-binary daisies, it is time for me to sign off. If you enjoyed the video, please don't forget to like, subscribe, leave a comment, and if you did all those things, y'all have a great day. Hey, stay in school, don't do LSD or else you'll hear colors and see music just like I was. Cause eat your vegetables and just be generally awesome. Also, if you want to talk to me outside the comment section on my channel, I will plug a link to my Discord in the description, as well as in this video.